In all of that, and it all sounds good, it all sounds like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. What is the details of the implementation process that play into that funnels, to play into both the marketing and the sales funnel? How does marketing automation participate in that funnel system? And that's where I've learned quite a bit from not just my own experience, but from other teachers and mentors, people like Ryan Deiss in the United States and Infusionsoft, we used to do a lot of work with, still do, by the way. And of course, working with my clients on an everyday basis. We came up with something which is a little bit like the Ryan Deiss system, or quite a bit actually. It's called the 7-step client value optimizer system. So how do you maximize the value that you're getting from your clients through this 7-step process? Now, I've left a space in part 3 for you to take any notes. I think it's always a good idea not just to be on the other side of the video screen and listening. I think it's always a good idea, and that's why I leave blanks and stuff. But where I put notes is like anything that that has an impact on your subconscious, and you say, well, I've never heard it put that way before. You have full, I give you full permission not to copy everything that I do, but to use certain bullet points and keyword phrases and what I call them, key sort of talking points, things like that. I give you permission to use them in your own businesses. It's not what you say, but how you say it that matters. So take some notes. Jot down things that really impact your thinking and use them to your advantage. Okay, so let's go to the Client Value Optimizer system, which doesn't seem to be in this PDF. Is that because I sent it to my email and haven't downloaded it yet? Well, I printed it out for you anyway. I just haven't got it on my screen. It is the page that looks like this, and you can make reference to it as we go through. I don't think it's necessary to have it here on the big screen, so we can just throw up this for the time being. Give ourselves a little bit of backdrop to work with, and let's go through the 7-step client value optimizer system. I think it's probably a good idea anyway for me to go into the flip chart and describe each of the different steps as we go through them. So the first one is, just like we talked about building awareness, you've got all of these squares up here, and this is the concept of traffic generation, building awareness. Choose a targeted audience traffic source. Now, it's different for every business. I cannot say that your particular product service is a good fit for Google AdWords. I've seen products and services that are, and I've seen some that aren't. If you have any specific questions on what might be a good targeted traffic source for you, then I would ask that, because we may have an answer based on our experience. Of course, if we've never seen that product or service before, we might not have a very specific answer, but we might say, well, if that is similar to this, then you might want to look at these particular traffic sources. I can tell you over the years, for me, some of the best traffic sources for building leads are things like SEO, meaning if we rank for a specific keyword search term, especially if that is an intent buying keyword or somebody's looking for very specific information, then we can rank for that, and then we can send them to a page where they can take some type of action. Many people would be involved, of course, with social media. The challenge that we have with social media, and again, we do a lot of it with our clients, mostly from a directional standpoint. Our company doesn't engage in creating social media content for our clients. Why don't we do that? And the answer is, it's very time consuming, and it's very hard to prove a specific return on investment. For example, with another traffic source like Google Ads, which we do for probably 50% of our clients, maybe more than that, 50 to 70%, somewhere in there. I would have to look and see. We generate AdWords reports for our clients every month, and those reports are not 10 pages of analytics. What they are is, here's how much it costs you to create a lead. And that's the most important element for our clients, because they know that if they get 3 leads at $50 a lead, and that costs them $150 to create one client, then their cost per acquisition to create a new client was $150. But the lifetime value of that client, especially for the professionals like dentists and physiotherapists and brain therapy clinics and all of those things, it's certainly a lot more than $150. So the numbers start to make sense. With social media, on the other hand, it's very difficult to prove to our clients. We had 1,200 people see this post on Facebook, and the client's like, yeah, but did we get any business? And our response to that is, well, we don't know. There's no lead conversion rate for making a social media post. There is for advertising and remarketing, but for social media itself, very difficult. So I've learned over the years where we used to do things like this, it's just more of a, here's what we recommend that you do with the human resources that you have. Other traffic sources include things like YouTube, which audiences hang out on, blogs, and of course the list is endless. I've put some across the top of the page. You can pick and choose the ones that work for you. Then the first, after acquiring that audience and delivering that traffic, what we typically like to do is offer them what we call a lead magnet. So step 1 in the 7-step process is go find an audience. Step 2 is create some type of lead magnet. In other words, attract them to something of value which they can get in exchange for their contact information. I like to also put it like this. What is the cost or the price of admission for the lead magnet? And the price of admission for you, and I've always known over the years that the money's in the list, so the price of admission is an email address. The more emails you have, and of course phone numbers would be even better, especially for text messaging or phone calling, but an email is often good enough. In exchange for the email, we're providing you some type of value. And we're going to go through the different types momentarily. Let's get through the 7-step client value optimizer system. I can tell you from my experience, we get a lot of clients, almost every single one of our clients has some type of lead magnet page. A coupon, a free offer, a free download, an information page, a quiz, whatever. The sky's the limit on what people are willing to do for an email address, to give up an email address. Every single one of my clients has at least one lead magnet page where they're filling out a form. And it's not a contact us page. A contact us page is, that's not a lead magnet page. You're giving people something of value in exchange for the email address. In my experience, most people don't really get that whole landing page, lead magnet thing. And I'd love to give you some specific examples, and I will today. Once they take the lead magnet, your next process is over here, which is what we call offer them a Tripwire. So once they've consumed the free thing, get them into the next level, which is something of low cost in time and money. If you refer back to the sales funnel, this is the first step in the sales funnel. Everything that came before that is marketing automation, and now you've got them in the funnel. Get them to buy the next level, which is what we call Tripwire. And then over on the right-hand side, if they do not purchase that Tripwire, this is where automation comes in, and you're going to fire them off a series of emails until they do. I will give you specific examples as we go through this on how many emails to send, short-term nurture, long-term nurture, detailed explanations of different types of campaigns and how they work over time. In my experience, what you don't want to do is you don't want to always be offering free products. If you have a mailing list now, it's best not to continue to deliver free information to those people. What will happen is they'll get used to you just giving good stuff all the time. Yes, you can open up the gates once in a while and provide people some good quality information to keep them interested, but if you do it too often, you're training your audience to just take the free stuff. Michael, is there a question? So a question from our group: how do you choose what is gated content and what is not gated content? Give me an email for this download which is gated. Can I just get the high value without gated? So this is an interesting question. Gated means you cannot get access to the content without giving us an email address. That's what gated means. I could give you 100 examples of what is gated content versus non-gated content, but to precisely look at it from the perspective of, well, what provides you, the business, the highest value? And the highest value for you, the business, is the email address. So I'm always recommending to my clients that initially the value that you give them is of good quality, but make it obvious to them that the higher quality value is behind the gate. Yes, the grass is really, really nice here, and I see that it grows well, and it's got, a decent amount of information on to help me do that, whatever it is I want to do, but an email address will get me into a higher level of information. So you have to decide what that is. What I would continue to recommend, and I'm hoping this answers your question, Nancy, what I'm continuing to recommend is that at some point between value in these areas, in the awareness building, the value that they get is not as much as if they were to give over an email address. Gate the content of higher value. And then, of course, you have to decide what's the value between the free gated information and then the first paid information, whatever low cost in time and money is. This is the biggest struggle for marketers. Am I giving away too much? Am I sharing more information than I need versus am I not sharing enough information? And are people willing to give me an email address if they don't see initial value for free or for non-gated content? Non-gated content for me usually means some type of video, some blog posts, posts on social media. To me, that's all free value for people. But the problem is right now, and it's never been harder for marketers, especially for small businesses who work with marketers. The problem right now is it's all noise to most people. People have become very complacent and very gun shy about handing over an email address because they see it too often. You're in a fight for people's attention. And that's why I'm about to give you some specific examples of what works in the different types of scenarios. Okay. So Nancy, thank you for your question. If the person consumes through your follow-up campaign that initial tripwire, your goal then is to graduate them to core product. Typically what will happen is the only reason they'll do that, the only reason they'll graduate to core product is if they got some value out of the tripwire. So don't overpromise and underdeliver. Michael, can you just throw up, is IVGA still up? Yeah. Just throw it there for 1 second. I'm going to reach down and grab my thing here. Okay, we're back. Little time out to grab something off the floor. Core product is where you're going to make the lion's share of your income. I've seen many, many cases where people are offering $7 reports and $7 videos and $1 free trials and things like that. The only reason they'll graduate to core product is if they actually consume and use the Tripwire product and get value out of it. And I'm not talking about a small amount of value. I'm talking about significant value. So the relationship, again, between those two things is very fine. And that's where experience comes in. Knowing that in the past, here's how we've done this. So it's difficult. And my highest recommendation is that in the beginning, if you're just starting out with things like the 7-step client value optimizer system and you're just learning about sales funnels and marketing funnels, that you work with somebody with experience. Now, I underline the word experience. Never take advice from people who don't actually have what you want. Good marketers walk their talk. Good marketers have not just built-in experience, but they've created results for other companies, and there's a track record of goodwill in their wake. So very important that you choose wisely. There's a lot of beginners in marketing these days. One of the inside jokes of the marketing business is people don't actually get into the marketing agency business on purpose. They get into it by accident because you're at a meeting someday and somebody asks you, do you build websites? And all of a sudden now you're like, oh, well, not really, but I built my own, but I could build you one, and then you're in the marketing business. So there's a lot of upstarts and misinformation, and I've seen a lot of people spend a lot of money. I think I've mentioned this before. Every single one of my current executive consulting clients, they've all been with other marketing agencies before. Most of my executive consulting clients I've had for a minimum of a year. Many of them for 5 years, some of them for even longer than that. And the reason why, there's only one reason why they stay with me, is because we get results. We make money, and that's the only thing that's important. So choose wisely if you're going to work with a marketing agency. Next is, as you refer back to the funnel, profit maximizer, and a follow-up system to get them to buy into that. So this side of the page is free, paid, higher paid, higher paid. If they don't purchase it initially, follow up, follow up, follow up. And this is where marketing automation is. This is where the CRM comes into play. Does that make sense? So this is 1, 2, 3, and all of the follow-up system is 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is what we call return path. The goal of return path is to use things like emails, blogs, retargeting and remarketing campaigns, social media, and custom audiences. Custom audiences is also part of the remarketing system, is to move them back to where they left off. In other words, if somebody purchased Tripwire and the email marketing automation doesn't work, or is about to work but it's not quite enough, the return path helps solidify that follow-up campaign. So the same time that you're running the follow-up emails, let people see it in the emails, but also let them see it in social media. Also let them see it on Facebook and LinkedIn and other types of remarketing situations. In their Gmail, in their YouTube account, they're starting to see little snippets of videos in front of the YouTube videos that they watch. So the return path really helps emphasize that they should take the next level of information and products that you have. So that's the 7-step client value optimizer system. I think we've done a good job of designing it. I highly recommend that you use it to your advantage. One thing I will say before moving on to the next section is that I would start here. I would not build out the entire thing. This is the beginning. This is the first part that you should be getting into play as soon as possible. Okay? Don't worry too much about building a system that promotes the offerings of core products. They'll get that anyway, but without any marketing automation. And certainly don't be moving on to all of these other things until you've got that first lead capture and first sale thing working for you. That's where you should be spending the major part of your time.